it's very hard to not see XAI as, the future of AI. So how do you question that level of success? I don't understand it. It's a mystery to me how people can question it.
Hi, I'm Jo Crawford, and welcome to Times Radio's Tech Report. Today, I'm joined by Larry Goldberg, entrepreneur, investor, and author of The Decision Model. Thank you for joining me on the Tech Report today.
Great to be here, Joe.
So, tell me about when you first came across Elon Musk.
Wow. You'll have to go back to the early 2000s. So I'm a South African, and as a kid, I played with rockets. I built my own rocket at the age of 12 or 13, and was fascinated by it. And I first heard of Elon Musk because of his activities with SpaceX. Very early on, somebody alerted me to the fact that this crazy South African was trying to build a rocket company, and how idiotic was that. But then I read his blogs. He wrote blogs, particularly after the failure of the first launch and the second launch. And what intrigued me was the intensity of detail, the specificity of engineering detail, the honesty of the blogs, just exactly why it failed, what their course of action was, and then the follow-up. They had 3 failures in a row, and each time he kind of detailed it, he went into it. No apologies, just the facts. And I was really intrigued by it. And then finally they launched successfully, and I was hooked. And, shortly after that, he started the Tesla car company, which was not really in my sort of wheelhouse. However, I watched the rise of SpaceX, and I realized that this was the real deal. He was an engineer par excellence. He had an incredibly frank, open, honest way of describing exactly what was happening. And I realized that this was an extraordinary individual. When the company when Tesla went public, I subscribed for some shares. I had to buy them on the open market, was unable to get subscription shares. And that was my first small investment into Tesla, which grew very large because since that date, those shares have gone up 100x. So I've just followed that investment, and I invest now today, not in the public markets in Tesla, but also in the private markets, all of his other companies, with the exception of Boring Company.
And previously, you've said that Musk is one of the most brilliant people of your age, but especially this year, Musk has come into a lot of criticism, especially with his involvement with Donald Trump, helping out with the Doge department there. What did you make of that?
Well, I famously suggested that he not get involved in politics, and he followed up by saying, that guy doesn't understand. And, what I have to say is that Elon, what you see is what you get. It's as simple as that. He is as honest as the day is long. He would be forthright. Look, he has these incredible dreams of the future, and he tries to realize them. And sometimes he gets a little bit over his skis in terms of timing. Very seldom is he wrong about the opportunity and about the technology and about the possibilities. What he finds it very difficult to do is time it, because he understands the physics, he understands the engineering, he sees the possibility, what can be done, and the difficulty is the friction of getting it done. And so often his timing is wrong, but he's incredibly accurate in terms of time. Now, he understands the situation in the US. As far as the US budget is concerned, he understands, he feels it deeply. He wants to fix that problem. He's tried to fix that problem. Politics is a very tough game. And I think he's got far too much going on to be able to best that game. But we'll see. He has an uncanny understanding of the nature of things. I mean, just look at how successful he was in the presidential election in helping Donald Trump get elected. Well, that shows his innate understanding of the core principles. And so, his understanding of how Congress works and the ability to disrupt that is actually a pretty uh, incredible observation. And he could well upset the whole apple cart and change the balance of power in Congress. The first time in 200 years, which will be something else. Wow.
I guess on the other hand, there is consumer unease about Musk's previous support for the president. We've seen that Tesla stocks are down, sales profits are dropping as well. It's believed that Tesla could be facing the loss of billions of dollars in government subsidies following this fallout with Trump as well. Do you think that he's going to be able to get himself out of this situation?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Tesla's stock may be somewhat down. I mean, it's still 100x from the IPO. It's a little down, but you must understand that Tesla's going through a massive, massive change. I mean, Tesla is multiple startups under a roof. Elon decided 2.5, 3 years ago now to change Tesla's direction. He's moving it from a car company to an embodied AI company. And that startup is going to take 4 or 5 years to mature. But the promise of that company is extraordinary. I'm a bull on Tesla. I'm buying Tesla because what I see now is that this is probably in this coming year or so is probably the last opportunity before we start realizing the value of the new direction, and it's going to be an amazing ride. So yeah, I'm 100% behind what he's doing in Tesla, and this price, the price that the Tesla stock is at, is probably down a little bit because of the political activity, probably down a fair bit because of the political activity, but all of this will be gone by, within a year or two.
Are you concerned about Trump saying that he could cut support for green industries? State subsidies, they accounted for around 38% of Tesla profits last year. Does that worry you?
No, because those are all, it's all around the car company. By the end of next year, Tesla's not going to be a car company anymore. I mean, it's going to be an embodied AI company. What you buy from Tesla is rides in their autonomous cars. What you'll buy from Teslas are robots, automated robots. What you'll buy from Tesla is incredible AI. So, I mean, the subsidies had to go away eventually, and the subsidies are, incidental, really, to the mission of Tesla. And so I don't think it's that important. We'll see the semi come onto the roads next year. I mean, what's happening at Tesla is so much more than the subsidies. The subsidies are incidental. They were supportive of Tesla in the early years, and they were supportive of Tesla in the launch of the vehicles. But those days are over now. Tesla is moving beyond that.
What did you make of the announcement of that Tesla Samsung deal, about $16.5 billion? What will it involve?
Well, Tesla needs an extraordinary number of chips, and Tesla's inference chips that come in the car are, probably half a decade ahead of the rest of the world in terms of inference chips for autonomous driving. And Tesla has to keep that lead up, and in fact is speeding their development of those chips because that's the future of the company. So they need an enormous supply of chips. There is a huge, I've driven past a Samsung plant in Taylor, Texas, not far from where Tesla has its Gigafactory. The opportunity to expand its supply beyond, a Taiwanese supplier who is building fabs in the United States is, I think, a fantastic opportunity. It's classic Tesla activity. Shoring up its supply of its entire supply chain from the mining of the lithium all the way to the final product. And that's classic Tesla. So it's very bullish for Samsung as well, because it shores up their semiconductor business quite dramatically. They were really struggling.
Critics have pointed to criticizing Musk in terms of taking on too many roles, especially when he was involved with Doge. We've also got X going on there as well. Has that ever been a concern for you?
No, I've invested in every one of his companies, other than Boring Company. They're just not raising enough money. Look, he has to have all of these activities going on to keep his brain satiated. I mean, this guy has won in many billions. So far, he's handled his multiple ventures extremely well. There isn't one venture that is, in anywhere near failing. Every one of them have been incredibly successful. I think the most successful is SpaceX, but it's going to be a tough battle between SpaceX and Tesla as to which one exceeds most. And then there's Neuralink, which is, promising to improve our lives so dramatically. It's very hard. It's very hard to not see XAI as, the future of AI. So, I mean, how do you question that level of success? I don't understand it. It's a mystery to me how people can question it.
And finally, I want to touch on Elon Musk when he announced the America Party. He said that this would be an alternative to the Republicans and the Democrats. But it appears that sources close to him are saying that, he announced this party as sort of an act of rebellion against Trump in his one big, beautiful bill. What did you make of that?
It is less a rebellion against Trump, which is a trivial matter, than it is an understanding. You know what Elon does? He always goes to the core principles, the first principles, he calls it. And he looks at it and he understands that the malaise in American politics is all about the gridlock in Congress. And he's given deep thought into how to break that gridlock. That gridlock is the reason that Trump had to make these enormous concessions in the big, beautiful bill. It wasn't a big, beautiful bill. It was a big, beautiful mixture of Democratic and Republican needs and the needs of each individual congressman to bring home the bacon to their district. And he's figured it out that if he could get between half a dozen and a dozen seats in the House and a couple of seats in the Senate, that he could break this logjam. He could break this, 150-year logjam between the two parties. And so, and this is a whole issue of Trump, of Elon going to the first principles, to the underlying structure of the problem. And he's diagnosed it, and he could well succeed. I mean, he's had a huge list of successes in looking at the first principles and solving them. So I think it would be a very worthwhile try. Will it take up a lot of his time? Sure. That may take a little bit of pressure off the staff at his various companies, but it'll be interesting to see anyway.
Well, Larry, thank you so much for joining me on the Tech Report today.
Enjoyed it. Thank you, Joe.